Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. MyPillow.com. Promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Okay, here we are again, and it seems like just like that, it's Thankful Thursday again. First Lady Melania Trump is putting Hunter Biden on notice, $1 billion notice, that is, over false defamatory Epstein comments, threatening to sue the former first son if he does not retract his statement and apologize. Also, according to Representative James Comer, former President Bill Clinton is the prime suspect in the House Oversight Committee's probe looking at the late Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking case. Doesn't look like Bill Clinton's quite out of the woods yet. South Carolina Representative John McCravy joins us today to talk about the possible redistricting of South Carolina's congressional districts, just like Texas is doing. This could potentially lead to eliminating the safe Democrat seat that James Clyburn has called home for all these many years. And homeless people sleeping on the streets and in public parks has been an issue forever. President Trump is threatening to make arrests in the nation's capital, and the city of Greenville is dealing with the same issue and is considering further crackdowns as well. We have the latest in today's show.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, you know, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
In last week's podcast episode, we spoke with Judd Legum. After the episode, we received a letter from Melania Trump's lawyer. He took issue with our title of one of those YouTube videos from that episode and a couple of comments I made about the First Lady. We took a look at what they complained about, and we took down the video and edited out those comments from the episode. I also take back these statements and apologize.
One apology down, one more to go. That was Democrat activist James Carville apologizing for some misleading statements that he made recently about First Lady Melania Trump. We got a full-blown legal showdown brewing between the First Lady and, yes, Hunter Biden. Here's the story. Melania's lawyers have put Hunter on notice for a cool $1 billion over what they say are false, defamatory, disparaging, and inflammatory comments that he made about her. $1 billion. That's not a typo. Now, these comments came during a YouTube interview earlier this month. Hunter sitting down with that Channel 5 guy, Andrew Callahan, and in it, Hunter makes this wild claim that Jeffrey Epstein introduced Melania to President Donald Trump. He wasn't president then, of course. No evidence, no proof, just tossing a hand grenade into the conversation and walking away. And the First Lady's lawyers are saying, enough, retract it, apologize, or we'll see you in court. Now, here's the kicker. The so-called source for Hunter's claim is Michael Wolff, the same guy who's made a career out of throwing gossip at the wall to see what sticks. The Daily Beast actually ran a piece pushing this Epstein rumor, and when the First Lady's legal team came knocking, they yanked the whole thing down and apologized. Same thing with James Carville. That's what you just heard. He repeated the claim on his podcast. The First Lady's attorney sent a letter, and boom, next episode, Carville's apologizing on air. But Hunter Biden, according to media sources, he blew past the August 7th deadline. Didn't retract, didn't apologize, and if you believe the source close to the First Lady, He even leaked the legal letter to a friendly reporter, which kind of tells you two things. Number one, he's not taking it seriously. Number two, he's playing the media game instead of the legal one. I'm going to add a third one. He's just stupid. No one's ever going to accuse Hunter Biden of being the smartest tack, right? Hunter Biden has already proven that he is just stupid. Now, folks, I got to say it. This is not just about the First Lady. This is about the culture or smear that's been aimed at Donald Trump and anyone connected to him for nearly a decade now. Make it ugly, make it personal, tie it to Epstein if you can, because the media knows that's instant clickbait, instant headlines. But here's the problem for little Hunter. Defamation law doesn't give you a free pass to just repeat a rumor and call it truth, especially when the target can prove the statement is false and you acted with actual malice. And the First Lady's lawyers are lining up all the elements. Falsity, check. Malice, check. Damages, oh yeah, they're asking for $1 billion. Now, will it ever get to trial? Who knows? A lot of these things end in quiet settlements. But I'll tell you what, the Trumps aren't exactly known for rolling over. And the First Lady in particular has a history of going after media outlets that smear her, and she's won some too. And you got to love her aide's response. Nick Clemens saying, if you want the true account of how Melania and Donald met, read her book. Translation, stop making up sleazy garbage to score political points. We're going to keep an eye on this, folks, because if the First Lady actually takes Hunter to court, this could get real messy and real interesting real fast. And what little Hunter needs to understand is his dad's pardon is not going to cover something like this. And while we're talking about Epstein, House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer says he's going after the Clintons in a big way, and he's not playing games. Comer just told Newsmax that former President Bill Clinton is now the, quote, prime suspect in the House Oversight probe into Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking network. Prime suspect is the exact words that Comer used. Now, let's take a look at this. Let's be clear. Clinton's name has been whispered in the Epstein saga for years. We've all heard the stories, the flight logs, the questions about his relationship with Epstein. And now Comer is putting it all on the table. And he says flat out, the American people deserve to know what went on at Epstein Island. And if Clinton was a frequent visitor, as many reports have claimed, then he's got some serious explaining to do. And this just isn't political theater. The House Oversight Committee just issued subpoenas, real ones, and as you know, we talked about this last week, Bill and Hillary Clinton were on the list with deposition dates set for October 9th and 14th. And guess what? Even Democrats voted in favor of issuing those subpoenas. That's how serious this appears to be. Now, Comer says he's confident they'll win in court to force Clinton to testify. He said, and I quote, I've never lost a subpoena battle. So mark your calendars. This could be the showdown that finally blows the lid off of years of questions and cover-up. We'll see. Now, Clinton, for his part, claims he's never stepped foot on Epstein Island. And in his memoir, he even said he wishes he had never met Epstein. But let me just ask you something here. Just think about this for a minute. If he's got nothing to hide, then why not show up and testify? Just get it all out in the open. If you really are innocent, if you really didn't have a relationship with Epstein, then show up and tell him what you know. Just that simple, right? The Department of Justice and the FBI recently announced that they're closing their Epstein review and won't be releasing more documents. So no new charges, no list of predators, just case closed. Now, that's outrageous. That's hard to believe. Meanwhile, Comer's team has subpoenaed everyone from James Comey to Eric Holder, Jeff Sessions, and Merrick Garland. They want everything, every DOJ document, every bit of FBI evidence that is related to the Epstein case. So let's just look at this. Let's think about this. And let's just say this out loud. I don't think it's over yet, do you? Not by a long shot. And if Bill Clinton really is the prime suspect, then the American people deserve the truth. The American people deserve to be able to hear what Bill Clinton has to say. And I think that James Comer and the House Oversight Committee are going to insist that they get to the bottom of this, because if they don't, we're going to keep hearing these same accusations, these same rumors forever. I mean, don't we need to just go ahead and investigate this, open all the files, get it all out in the open, and then people can make their own decisions on what they think really happened. But if we continue to just kick the can down the road, continue to try to keep the folders, the files from being released, there's always going to be these conspiracy theories. There's always going to be these questions asked. So for the sake of the country, can't we just once and for all release every single document, get everybody who's ever had any association with Epstein on the stand, talk about it, and put this behind us so we never have to talk about Jeffrey Epstein again, right? America is in a health crisis, and by America, not just strangers across the country. It's personal. Me, you, friends, and family. And a major cause? Excess weight. Joey Hudson here. The solution isn't expensive shots like Ozempic. It's learning how to eat and think about food differently, and that's what PhD Weight Loss does. Their clients lose up to a third of their body weight. No drugs, just real food, behavioral coaching, and proven science to turn your body into a fat-burning machine. Sure, you could spend up to $20,000 a year on injections that burn muscle, not fat, and come with risks like pancreatitis or bowel blockages, only to gain it all back. PhD helps your body naturally produce weight loss hormones like GLP-1s. No shortcuts, just results that last. Already on Ozempic? Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team will help you safely transition off and keep losing weight. Let's make America healthy again. Call 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com. When President Trump announced his takeover of the Metropolitan Police Department in an effort to make our nation's capital safe for its residents and visitors, the administration also announced a program to get the homeless off of the streets. This is an issue that's a problem all around the country, including upstate South Carolina in Greenville. Downtown Greenville's wrestling with a simple but hard question. Can they keep sidewalks safe and welcome and serve neighbors who are sleeping on them? Greenville City Council is weighing an ordinance to prohibit camping in public spaces. No making a bed with sleeping bags or blankets on sidewalks and plazas. Councilman John DeWorkin says he's pushed it after a flood of emails saying that about 3,000 people contacted, 300-plus responses in 72 hours, and roughly 80%, he says, said, we need a camping ordinance. Now, that's not a Twitter poll. That's neighbors, business owners, church families speaking up, according to the council member. So here's the heart of the proposal in plain language. If someone is found making a bed in a public area, outreach teams connect first, housing and services before citations. DeWorkin calls it a multifaceted approach, with nonprofits like Greenville Together stepping in to help people into safe options. Cody Carver from Greenville Together says the priority is services first, not enforcement first. And I think that's probably the right instinct is, yes, penalties are still being discussed, but the rules that protect shared spaces have to mean something or they don't protect anyone at all. But we also have to be compassionate people and take care of our friends and neighbors. You're also hearing both sides of the human story. From Main Street, business owners like Jonathan Wood at A. Smith Clothiers says this could make downtown safer for everyone, including people on the street. And from the front lines of charity, advocates like Downtown Batman ask the vital question, where they're supposed to go. That's a challenge that we must meet in good faith. If the city says, not here, we owe people a real safer there. Where is there? Where do they go? And it's a valid question. So let's zoom out to Washington, D.C., where the same issues are being discussed, because what's happening there is shaping this whole national conversation. The White House says people living in D.C. encampments are being offered two choices: accept a shelter placement with addiction or mental health services, or face jail if they refuse. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt put a fine point on it and said Park Police have already cleared about 70 encampments, with just 2 remaining on federal parkland slated for removal this week. She also confirmed that the administration is exploring relocating encampments well outside the city, exploring that, but it's not final. Here's Press Secretary Leavitt yesterday when asked a question about the Trump plan.
Homeless individuals will be given the option to leave their encampment, to be taken to a homeless shelter, to be offered addiction or mental health services, and if they refuse, they will be susceptible to fines or to jail time. Again, these are pre-existing laws that are already on the books. They have not been enforced, which is part of the reason for this federalizing of the National Guard to bring in this assistance for law enforcement. While we are targeting criminals and trying to remove criminals off of the streets, we also want to make DC safe and beautiful, and that involves removing mentally disturbed individuals in homeless encampments as well. So we will be using these regulations and code that already exists to clean up our streets, and we've already had great success. Not many of you picked up on this, but the United States Park Police has actually done remarkable work in terms of removing homeless encampments from the city. Since the president signed this executive order in March, 70 homeless encampments have been removed by the U.S. Park Police. There are only 2 homeless encampments remaining in D.C. federal parks under the National Park Service's jurisdiction, and the removal of those 2 remaining camps is scheduled for this week. So the U.S. Park Police will be leading this effort alongside MPD.
Just very quickly, he had talked in one of his social media posts about moving them very far outside of the city. Is that off?
No, it's not off. We're exploring how we could do that. But again, homeless shelters, offered addiction and mental health services, or jail if they refuse are the options on the table right now.
So what's the balance here? It appears in D.C. there's a heavy presence of law enforcement. The administration says that there has been a surge of law enforcement resources. The AP reports that federal officers made 23 arrests on the first night of the crackdown, and that up to 800 National Guard members are part of the response. While Ms. Leavitt has suggested federalized control could extend beyond the initial 30-day authority if Congress signs off. And I won't be surprised if Congress doesn't approve this, because Washington is a mess. The Washington Post notes that there's still uncertainty on the ground about who's actually calling the shots. City Hall, the police chief, the DEA administrator, the Department of Justice, the Marshal Service. I mean, there's a whole list of people. And again, this is Washington. This is the nation's capital. But we bring that back down to why bring D.C. into a Greenville debate? Because the same tension runs through the both places. Compassion without order turns into chaos. Order without compassion turns into cruelty. This is a real dilemma that we have to face. I heard the term one time, compassion with consequences. Maybe that's how we approach this. Fortunately, we have a lot of great groups here in the upstate who can help fight the homeless situation that we have. Organizations like Miracle Hill Ministries. I hope to have their executive director, Ryan Dirk, on soon and talk about his plans, because I know that there's a lot of organizations out there who will help give these people the services they need, help provide housing. But it's a big job, and there are lessons to be learned from D.C. about how you execute this. If you surge enforcement without a clear outreach plan, you may simply just reshuffle the human misery to the next block, or maybe even outside of the city and into the next county. But it is a problem, and it's something that we just can't ignore. I believe that this is probably an opportunity for the faith community to step up in a big way. We need church vans for rides, celebrate recovery groups ready for an influx, employers offering second chances, landlords working with case managers to help provide the housing. If council passes a no camping ordinance, Greenville's faith community has to be there to say yes. Yes to beds, yes to mentoring, yes to long-term friendships. And that's how people climb out of this situation that they find themselves in. The downtown businesses, you're not the villains. You got to keep pressing for clean, safe streets. I get that. You got to do what's best for your business. But you also have to step up and help some of these services like Greenville Together, like Miracle Hill Ministries, like the Salvation Army, help fund their programs in order for them to continue to provide services to the people that need it most. So whether it's our nation's capital or downtown Greenville or downtown Spartanburg or wherever your city, Anderson, we all have a job to do, and working together, I think we can get that done. What do you think? Text me, email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. On the text line, the other day I talked about the story of South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster saying that he's going to put some restrictions on what people can buy with their SNAP benefits, their food stamps, basically, eliminating sodas and other unhealthy items. And I ask you what you thought. Texter says, I was at a Simpsonville Walmart, saw two women in a buggy of sodas and a buggy with four small children. Later, I saw them on 418 at the gas station beside the Spink selling the sodas for cash. So our taxpayer dollars were paying for drugs. And people do that. There's all kind of fraud going on. Now, Scott had a bit of a different idea here. Scott from Toccoa says, food stamp SNAP benefits, we all agree we need to help those who struggle with food, but why do we think that we can dictate what kind of food they buy? Sure, the kids need to have healthy food, but what if mom can't or won't cook when junk food is better than no food? Also, when will the control stop? I can easily see someone getting upset over fried chicken versus baked chicken. A better option is education so people can make the right choice. When is the last time you heard of home economics in school? You're right, Scott. Maybe we do need to have just some basics there. Albert says, and this is in reference to the North Carolina judge lowering the bond on this madman wanted in Florida. He says, once again, law enforcement did their job in arresting a criminal, and a judge has let the criminal go. It would be interesting to know what bail options this judge had. If a judge makes it easy for a criminal to be released, that judge should be liable for future crimes committed by that criminal. Albert goes on to say, I'm in total agreement that SNAP should not be used for junk food. Your comments are always welcome. You can text me. You can email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. You can leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Always use promo code Joey when you go to MyPillow.com. And boy, Mike Lindell's got some great deals for you right now. Once again, one of the big box stores canceled some orders, and Mike has a ton of extra MyPillows. But you're going to get the benefit of that. Their loss, your gain. MyPillow's offering the classic collection for wholesale prices when you use promo code Joey. Now get this. Only $19.98 for a standard MyPillow. Gets even better, though. For a limited time, they're going to offer their entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Get a queen-size pillow for just $24.98. Upgrade to a king size for only $29.98. You get both of these prices when you use promo code Joey. Get the body pillows for $39.98 and multi-use MyPillows for only $12.98. So go to MyPillow.com, use promo code Joey. You can also call 800-893-4059. Always have your credit card ready. And to take advantage of wholesale pricing, receive $100 in free digital gifts when you order over $75. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $19.98 when you go to MyPillow.com and use promo code Joey. Okay, so we've all been following, to a degree, this crazy Democrat socialist mayor candidate in New York City, Zohran Mamdani. Now, most of you listening probably don't even care. It's not going to affect you. But I think it's just a real testament to what the Democrat Party has gone to, because it looks like this guy is going to be elected. And, you know, one of the things that he has been promoting is city-owned grocery stores. He wants the local supermarket to be run by City Hall. Now, what could possibly go wrong with that? Well, let's check in with Kansas City, Missouri, because they've been running a real-life test of this exact same concept. And guess what happened yesterday? They locked the doors for good. Game over. Checkmate. Now, here's the story. Back in 2016, Kansas City bought the Linwood Shopping Center. 2 years later, they poured millions, and I mean millions of dollars, into opening a shiny, city-owned grocery store called Sun Fresh. They told the community it would bring fresh food, low prices, and stability to an underserved area. Total bill to taxpayers? Over $17 million for the property and renovations. Then, when things started going south, the city dumped in another $750,000 in emergency funding just last year to keep the lights on. And despite all of that, the place was plagued with empty shelves, crime, and such low morale that employees were reportedly carrying tasers to work. Now, this week, customers showed up to find a note on the door saying, and I'm paraphrasing here, sorry, folks, we can't serve you anymore. We tried. That's it. Years of community investment, gone. We're closed. Out of here. Now, Kansas City officials are scrambling to figure out what to do with the giant taxpayer-funded failure. They're talking about private operators, sustainable solutions, which is bureaucratic speak for let's get this off our books before it bleeds any more money. And here's the thing you need to know. Mamdani in New York City is pointing to the same model as his big idea to save New Yorkers from price gouging. He says his city-run grocery stores will skip rent, skip property taxes, and sell at wholesale prices to make food cheaper. Well, that's kind of what they did in Missouri, right? Kansas City. Didn't work. Did not work. I mean, it sounds great on TikTok, but let's be real. The Kansas City store also skipped rent. They didn't pay property taxes, and they still couldn't survive. You know why? Because government can't run a grocery store like a business. There's no competition. There's no accountability. There's no profit incentive. And in the real world, those things matter. I mean, folks, think about it. If City Hall can't even fill potholes, do you really want them handing out produce in the aisle? Do you think they can be responsible for the meat section? Do you think that they can do anything that could compete with Ingles, for example? Ingles, our neighborhood grocery store. No way. So again, I understand that what Zoran Mamdani does in New York probably not going to affect any of us. But if he's successful, if he wins his election in New York, and again, it looks like he might, then others are going to get the same idea. And this could filter outside of New York City. It could come to other areas, and then it might actually start affecting us. Others might get these bright ideas that, he's doing it in New York, so why don't we try it here? And it's real simple to see just what a failure it was in Kansas City. I mean, all you have to do is follow the money. Because the Kansas City Sun Fresh story isn't just a cautionary tale. It's a masterclass in how government burns through taxpayers' money when it tries to play grocery store operator. Let me give you some of the numbers here. Again, it started in 2016. Kansas City taxpayers coughed up $5.5 million to buy the Linwood Shopping Center. Then the city poured another $12 million plus to renovate and open Sunfresh in 2018. We're already talking over $17 million before the first apple or loaf of bread ever hit the shelves. Think about that. $17 million of taxpayers' dollars. And that wasn't the end, because once the store started struggling, guess what? Surprise, surprise, the city quietly slipped in another $750,000 in, quote, emergency funding just last year to try to keep the doors open. That's like putting duct tape on a sinking ship. So what did taxpayers get for all that money? 5 years of spotty service, empty shelves, employee safety issues, and now a locked door with a goodbye note. If you break that $17 million over the roughly 5 years the store was open, taxpayers were effectively subsidizing this store to the tune of over $3 million a year. And remember, that's not counting the normal operating costs that the store itself was bleeding through. So here comes Zoran Mamdani in New York City, standing on a soapbox saying, hey, we should totally do this in the nation's most expensive, most heavily taxed city. He's pitching no rent, no property tax, wholesale pricing like it's some magic formula. Folks, Kansas City already had that advantage, and it still failed. Because the problem isn't rent or taxes. The problem is that when government runs a store, it's not run for efficiency. It's run for politics, and nobody's held accountable. If crime spikes, they won't crack down because they're afraid of backlash. If shelves are empty, they'll blame supply chain challenges instead of fixing procurement. And when the red ink piles up, they'll just throw more money, your money, taxpayers' monies, until it's politically safe to close it. That's exactly what happened in Kansas City. It's exactly what happened in other failed municipal retail experiments all around the country. I mean, here's the bottom line, and it's real simple. When private grocery stores fail, investors lose money. When government grocery stores fail, you and I lose money every time. Every time taxpayer dollars are used for some type of what should be private enterprise, we all lose. And here's the irony. The same politicians pushing city-run stores also keep passing regulations, taxes, and fees that make it harder for private stores to survive in these low-income neighborhoods. They choke out the competition. Then they swoop in and say, well, don't worry, we'll save you with a taxpayer-funded store. It's like an arsonist opening a fire extinguisher shop. Good. Look, New Yorkers, if you have friends or family in New York, you need to advise them to take a good, hard look at the locked-up Kansas City Sunfresh before you buy what Mamdani is selling. But this is more than just about New York City and their potential new mayor. This is just a good example of any time the government tries to tell us they can do something better than private enterprise. I feel much better walking into Ingalls knowing that Robert Ingalls and his family has run that business for all these years. They've made a profit, and they've given you and me good product at a good price. And they haven't taken tax dollars out of my money that should be going to roads and some of the other services that we all have come to expect and deserve. And the other lesson to be learned here, once you give City Hall the keys to your grocery cart, don't be surprised at what they try to take from you next. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. It's been an interesting few weeks with the Democrat members of the Texas legislature. I should say the Democrat members of the Texas House of Representatives fleeing the state to Illinois to avoid voting on a redistricting plan that will likely give the GOP 5 more seats. This story has some other states thinking about doing the same thing, including some legislators in South Carolina. On our guest line today to give us an idea of what could take place in the Palmetto State, Representative John McCravy. Welcome, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, Joey. It's always good to talk to you.
I appreciate your time today. So before we get into the what-ifs of possibly redrawing South Carolina's congressional districts, give us a quick overview of the process of redistricting and why this might be possible now.
Well, traditionally, we've always done redistricting in the modern times every 10 years when we have a new census. South Carolina was under the yoke of the federal government with the Voting Rights Act that was passed in the 60s. And as a result, South Carolina was actually discriminated against along with 12 other southern states. And we had to get pre-clearance. So the federal government had to clear our plans for redistricting every 10 years. And they would go into it, and we usually would get sued, which happens all the time with redistricting.
Yeah.
But there would be a lawsuit. The federal court would say, okay, this is fine. Okay, you need to redraw your lines, and they would constantly make us redraw our lines. We were under the yoke of the federal government. In 2013, a big thing happened, and that is the Supreme Court ruled that we were no longer under the Voting Rights Act because there was no reason for it anymore. And so we don't have to get pre-clearance anymore. We don't have to be subject to those type of things. And we now can draw our districts. We're pretty much free from all this Voting Rights Act stuff, except for one section, and that has to do with racial discrimination. So certainly we can't draw lines that racially discriminate intentionally.
Yeah.
And we've never done that anyway. And so, but the court did rule that we can now draw our lines, and they're not going to look at the politics of it. So it used to be they would say, well, if you discriminated against Democrats, then this is something we need to look at. Well, no more. So now we're free to draw our lines the way we want to. I don't think in 2020 we really had that realization yet because the case had just been decided. And so I think it's this is an interesting proposal, and I think it's something we should be looking at.
Yeah.
And so to help Trump, we've got a narrow majority. One vote can make a big difference right now in Congress. So I think it's something we should be looking at.
Well, and that's what, and with me today, Representative John McCravy, that's what Congressman Ralph Norman, who's also running for governor, pointed out. When this idea came up, Representative Norman said he thinks that South Carolina should consider redrawing our map. Here's a quote from the state. He said, "I have no doubt Republicans can be successful in every part of our state. That will help increase Republican control of Congress and help President Donald Trump pass his agenda. Every vote counts towards a conservative speaker, Mike Johnson, rather than a liberal speaker, Hakeem Jeffries of New York City." And this is what Congressman Ralph Norman is saying is, hey, we need to take advantage of this. Your response to that?
Well, I agree 100%. And so here's the thing. If you go look at District 6, that thing looks like a dachshund with two hats. It doesn't even look like a salamander. It's worse than that.
Yeah.
It goes all the way from north of Columbia all the way down to the tip of Georgia.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's 150 miles in two different directions, and it's all scattered. There's holes in it. There's all kind of mess. And it was drawn for the purpose of making sure we had a Democratic district, because under the former law, if we drew out and there was no Democrat elected, there would be all this claims of political discrimination and all that, which is now gone by the wayside.
Yeah.
So I think we need to look at it again, especially with the federal district. We need to look at this thing again and do away with it. All the rest of the districts, if you look at them geographically, they make a little bit of sense. This one makes no sense at all. So we should redraw it fairly. The citizens of South Carolina should be able to vote fairly for whoever they want to represent them in District 6. We have a super majority in our House. We have a super majority in the state Senate. We can pass whatever we want to pass. And I think if you're a good Republican, you need to be for this redistricting. Help out the Republican Party, help out Donald Trump, and get the votes that we need to get.
Yeah.
To help America.
Yeah. Representative McCravy, and if you look at the map and you look at District 6, as you pointed out, it looks nothing like any of the other districts. And I think it's fair to say if we had done that to establish or to create a Republican district, the Democrats would be standing on their head, wouldn't they?
They would. And it makes no sense whatsoever except in the light of old Supreme Court decisions.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in the light of when it was started back in 2019, when we started the process, 2001, we still didn't realize that we were not under the thumb of this Voting Rights Act, especially that part of it that where you could argue that it was political discrimination.
Right.
So that's gone. We need to look at it again, and I think it's important. I credit the Trump team for bringing this up.
I do too.
Talking about it.
I mean,
hey, look at this.
Honestly, had anyone talked about this before they brought this up? I mean, I didn't even think about it because I'm just thinking, well, we just did this, a couple of years ago. Had there been any discussion at all?
None at all.
Yeah.
It's until we started seeing other states do it, we started thinking, I started thinking, well, why aren't we doing it?
Yeah.
And so I think that's exactly what Mr. Norman is talking about.
Yeah. So one final question. We have about 30 seconds left. In the same state newspaper article that Congressman Norman was quoted in, a couple of legislative leaders. For example, Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Luke Rankin said it is gubernatorial season. It's not redistricting season. It appears that Representative Davey Hyatt, the House Majority Leader, doesn't have an appetite for doing this either. What's your response to that? I mean, some of the legislative leaders who sort of set the agenda are saying, well, not so fast, but you're saying not so fast, let's go for it, right?
That's right. And we all have different opinions, from time to time. I disagree with other legislators, and I think there are a lot of legislators who agree that we need to do something immediately. I know Jordan Pace put out something saying they felt like they were going to introduce a bill. And, I would support a bill to do redistricting because of all what we've talked about.
Yeah.
If you're a good Republican, I think you need to be for this. And frankly, I think you'll start hearing a different narrative once the people understand what this is about.
Sure.
And it gets out there in the public. I think Republicans in South Carolina are going to demand their leadership to get to work. Yes, it might be it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
But that's what we're elected for.
Right.
We're supposed to be working.
Yep.
And so that's what I'm in favor of working.
Yep. Representative John McCravy, it's always a pleasure. Appreciate what you do, and we'll check back with you soon.
All right, so thank you.
That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.